Okay, we're back.
Hello. Yes.
Woo,
Hello,
woo,
everybody.
woo, woo. I'm very excited for the second episode of our season 5 because I learned a new Finnish word, which I'm going to
Okay.
try to say again, is lainvalvojat. Lainvalvojat.
Lainvalvojat. Yeah. Why
So
did you
I'm
learn that?
watching.
So, did you get in trouble?
No, so I was on Amazon Prime, and I always like to watch Scandinavian shows. So
Hmm?
there's this show called Line by Boy at Helsinki with the police. So I started watching. So it's like the police in
Mm.
Helsinki, and they're recorded at their job.
Yeah. So
So
it's real. It's not
it's
fiction. It's real. Yeah.
no, so I was like, oh shit, because I know Finnish police don't fuck around. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna see some really intense stuff because I'm watching the police stuff in Sweden and it's kind of like mild. So I said, okay, Finnish people know what it is. So I watched the first episode last night. I actually, it was very underwhelming because the first
Mm.
episode, they rescued the cat because in some house somebody stabbed somebody downtown, but they were very worried about the cat, so they took the cat at the shelter. Then there was this
And they
guy
just left
that
the crime scene, and they just took the cat.
they took the
Good.
cat, like they spent like I don't know 10 minutes of that section only on the cat, and the cat was in a bag. It's like this is not the
Mm.
house for a cat. This
Yeah.
is not. And then the second thing, it was like a dude came in the street looking for them. It was actually right at the in Helsinki where it's like those Swedish named streets where you have the Swedish house or something like that
Mm.
next to Zetor. I know
Okay.
everything because I know where Zetor.
Mhm.
That's my
So it could
hotspot
be
in
anywhere in
Helsinki.
Helsinki.
If it's Zetor, I know where it is.
Good.
The big Zetor, the one with the cow at the entrance,
Yeah.
the
I
good
think
one
that's the
where
only
they
Zetor we have.
so good. Okay, so they were there, and this guy comes in the street and say, "Help, help!" And they switched immediately to English, and their English was really good because, like, I was
Mm.
trying to understand. Like, I understand some words in Finnish, but and I was like, it was like listening to you talk. And my husband was like, "Oh, is this Simo's language?" I was like, "Yeah," and we both worked for a Finnish company, so it was like, oh my god, like this sounds exactly the same. I was like, no, I know. And you know what? Finnish sound like Japanese. Think about it, because it's like
I mean,
so.
Finnish and Japanese sound very much alike. Like
Yes,
the phonetics are similar.
yes. So we were like, oh shit, we're. So the final thing that I saw was that this guy goes in the street, right? And then in the street he looks for the police. The police says like, "Yo, what's going on?" "Oh, somebody stole my phone." So they go in this house and this guy's phone was on the table. So the police said, "Yeah, see, we already solved the crime." And then the show stops. I'm like, what the fuck? Is there
Yeah.
nothing
Well,
going on in Helsinki?
what did you expect? Like we're a country of like barely 6 million people. It's not like we have crime that much.
Oh no, but
No,
like if you make
it's
a
like the
show,
no, it's like 90% of the police series is just about drunk and disorderly conduct, and that's it. And every
yeah,
now and then
there
there's some
was nothing
domestic
of that.
violence and stuff like that, but I think they just don't show that too much. But it's a very, very like I'm not going to say it's a peaceful country, but I mean there's just not that many of us, and the crime rates are kind of
Yeah.
regular. So compared to like the U.S. with 330 million people, obviously you're going to see a lot more action. But no, I think the people watch the show because it is just so it's so laid back. It's like
It's
Finnish
chill.
police are just saving cats and stuff.
But it was nice, but like I don't know what I mean. In Sweden, they also have border control. I love border control
Yeah,
shows. I like it when they catch them with stuff. Oh,
yeah.
I need a life. But anyway, we're back. I'm
Yes.
gonna let you talk now for the sake of this podcast.
Well, I don't have a funny anecdote about Swedish or Romanian police series. I think Romanian police series might be scary. I don't want to touch that topic,
They don't
but
make
I
shows
do.
about that.
But I did do something fun yesterday, and fun is in very fragile quotes in this case. So I've been bombarded by Piwik Pro that my free plans are expiring, and I need to
Yeah.
upgrade to the business plan, which I won't do because the only reason I was using Piwik Pro is because it was free and it was a GA4 alternative. So what I
Same.
actually did yesterday was I removed Piwik Pro from my properties that are using it, and I replaced it with Matomo on premise. So
No.
that was
Oh
really
shit.
cool. That was really cool. Like now I have like I don't actually care what the tool does, but what I want to talk about is I now have on-premise analytics. I'm not sending that to a third party. I'm sending it to a cloud service. well, obviously, like I'm using cloud hosting for WordPress, so technically it is still that's still something I need to figure out. But I've been like following all this geopolitical stuff that's been going on, and especially around the U.S. EU relations.
Oh
There's
yeah,
been a lot of talk in Finland, at least, that people like our decision makers, like our MPs, are just now realizing that holy crap, like 99% of our industry is bound into overseas data infrastructure and cloud infrastructure. All the government institutions use the Microsoft stack. AWS and GCP permeate everything, and we're
absolutely.
just now realizing that if the the orange guy in charge just has a whim, he could basically turn everything off for us, and our he could use that as a lever for tariffs, for cooperation over Greenland, whatever. So that's really concerning, and I think the discussion has it's been floating on the wrong level. People are thinking like, okay, should we replace Microsoft Word with OpenOffice? Like, that's not where the discussion should be. The problem is that even if you replace all the software, you're still going to be left with the entire architecture of internet, like IP addresses, DNS.
Yeah,
It's all controlled to a great degree by what the US does. So it doesn't matter if we start replacing everything and looking for data sovereignty or whatever, they can just turn everything off. But having
absolutely.
said that, I do think that every single European company has to kind of figure this stuff out, and it's very, very risky to have all your eggs in overseas companies, especially the big clouds. No matter of regulation or anything will protect you if the US decides unilaterally that they're going to access everything that they have, because even if they're running on EU servers, it's just still US companies. But what
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
thinking about now is I've been doing very little research into this, so I'm just starting off, but just trying to figure out like how to start replacing those stacks. Obviously, like EU clouds are still, they're getting there, but they're still far behind the big ones. And if you just think that you can just replace one with the other, it's not that easy. But I did have, actually mentioned this in the Simmer newsletter, but so Alexander Kurtzel has been working for the longest time on Walker. Uh,
Yeah,
and it originally came to my radar when I was thinking of replacing like client-side JavaScript libraries with something different than GTag or the Stape stuff, and Walker JavaScript is basically a data tracker library, like a generic data tracker library that you can use to collect blobs of data and send to server side or whatever. But it turns out that Alexander has been working on an entire stack, so it's called Walker OS, and
yeah.
and the entire point, or one of the biggest points, is data sovereignty. So building an EU only stack, and that's a really, really interesting thing to follow. And then David Vallejo has also been hinting at
The
releasing
tech
an
piper.
open source server side tag management system, which is also a step in the right direction. So I'm very curious
I
about
actually
those.
saw the demo when he was at Super Week. I
Yeah,
really, really liked the simplicity of it. Like even my dumbass was able to understand what's
yeah,
going on. So yeah,
yeah.
big shouts to David. He
Yeah,
really did his
but
thing.
it's a good trend. Like that, it's certainly not the only one. Like Walker and now TagPiper. Then there are EU only alternatives. There's Gentis been around for a long time. Obviously not open
Gentis.
source, but still EU only. So we have all these solutions, and I think that the kind of general disillusionment with Google. I'm still fully incentivized to use their stack, and I'm happy to continue doing so. But I can see why bigger companies are now trying to figure out that, do we really want to vendor lock ourselves into this? Server-side GTM is becoming more and more tangled with Google Tag. So I think it's a very good development, and I'm personally looking forward to playing around more with it. I was very happy to see how easy it was to actually set up Matomo on premise. I was using WordPress, so it's just a plugin. But
Easy.
even with
Oh
that,
yeah,
it's
okay,
easy.
yeah.
No, it's super easy. Like, you literally just install a plugin and that's it. Nothing else needs
Cool.
to be done. But you can do it on DigitalOcean. You can do it, which is a US company, but you can do it on just as a Docker installation as well. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's definitely not complicated. It's obviously not the best analytics tool for all intents and purposes, but for just non-ads related general
Yeah.
behavioral analytics, it works like a charm. So yeah, it's been interesting, and while it was just fun technical tinkering, and I did feel sorry having to give up Pivot Pro, I do
I did
think
the
there's
same.
yeah, but I do think there's a future in this, and I think that it's something that at least EU companies and EU experts in this field who reside in EU should spend more time figuring out this data sovereignty thing and just generally EU only data architecture, not with the purpose of walling ourselves in or alienating us from the US, but to have a genuine alternative for if things go south. I think it's just a wise precaution to take.
No, I agree, and
That's my 2 cents.
I've been actually I was a bit more drastic than you. I gave up on PV Pro and I just didn't put anything back. I said, you know what,
Mm,
I don't care.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and then I decided to close my blog after so many years. And as you, I had my own custom. I actually had a custom installation of a CentOS server, which
yeah,
I just installed services on and Apache and everything, and I just simply had the server manager, and then I was storing my WordPress
yeah.
database on it. But it was all like, for me it was too expensive to continue with that setup, because at that time when I set it up, I was like, man, I don't want to pay hosting. I'm just gonna do my own stuff. So I had like Romanian servers, and I used to work for that company, so I know they were good.
Mm.
So don't start with the Romanian jokes. We're still in Europe, okay? So it
I've
was
got
a good
nothing.
company.
I've got no. Let's not even go there. Like I have the biggest respect, especially for Romanian developers. Like they do an
We
amazing
are
job,
the
and they've
best.
been
We are
they are
some
very
of the
very good.
best. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I kind of wasn't the same thing, but then I asked myself, like, do I really care? And it's like, I really don't care. I mean,
Mm.
for you, you're a business, and it makes sense to know because you need this data to make some decisions, improve the UX, improve the experience of the pages, whatever you want to do. But for me, I was like, man, this is vanity. So I don't need, like, and like when I was a super week and I was hearing some talks, I was thinking, like, what's wrong with server logs, man? What's wrong?
Mm.
Like, what was wrong with server logs and pings and stuff? Like, do we really need more than that? I know, I'm kidding. I'm being,
No, no, I get it. Yeah,
but you know
I
what
get
I
it. Like,
mean. It's like,
well, you know me. I've been the most cynical person. Just regarding how companies use data and how it could be irrelevant. Like they could just remove analytics and continue as usual. But one thing,
nothing will
what I do
happen.
think, what I do think for your case at least, which would be like a vote in terms of having something like that still, is just to have a playground. Because I don't like, I know that it's not your jam to kind of tinker around with tags necessarily, but just having
Not
something
anymore, yeah.
there, yeah, but just having something there, having that data there, whether it's for plugging into a proprietary LLM at some point, or just
Yeah,
having your own playground with real user data, it is
yeah,
valuable, and it doesn't, like, there are zero cost alternatives, obviously not
yeah.
EU only, but you could do, like, my blog is running for free on
Plausible.
GitHub Pages,
There you
and
go.
GitHub Pages, and then using just a BigQuery Piper at this time. Obviously, I'd like to replace those with EU alternatives, but it's for
Yeah.
self-hosted stuff, it's a bit more difficult. But
Maybe
yeah,
a good chance to give Jason Packer a shout for his Google Analytics
mm,
Alternatives book that he just launched. So you will learn
yeah,
more about all these tools that we're mentioning in the book. Uh,
yeah,
Actually, I wanna share something about Super Week before we go to our guest. So, I did this talk about main effects and interactions, which was funny enough very similar to Matt Gershaw. But I was listening after the event, like event passed and everything. So I went back
mm,
to the talk. I listened to your talk, which was great. I listened to Tim. I listened to Matt. In hindsight, Matt's talk was more simple than mine. And I'm like, where did
mm,
I get to be that person? That, because like he explained it so well with the opera example. Basically, Matt was talking about um, uh, main interactions and main effects of
mm,
an experiment, of a treatment, and the interaction, and basically how sometimes it's more important to know how two things work together versus just how they work on their own. So I kind of had the same topic, but about creative assets. So listening to that in hindsight, I was like, where did I come into the position of being more confusing than Matt that had math formulas? So I was told by people that my talk gave them the most headaches at Super Week. And I was like, I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or
mm,
not, but like, damn. I was talking to Matt, and for people that are going to Measure Camp Helsinki, me and Matt might partner up to do a talk together. we're just talking about it. So it's probably, if you want the headache, the biggest headache of your life, you should come.
Mm.
And if Matt and me try to put it together, but I had a great time. Shouts to Zoli, to Bernadette, and everybody in the Super Week team for having me, and obviously for Simo as well. It was nice to
Mm.
stay there for one day. One day. That's all I did. But
That's
yeah,
quite enough.
yeah. I mean, it was nice to see everybody. I was listening again, like a lot of talks about server side, as you know, a lot of talks about privacy, a lot of talks about how do you move to Europe. It kind of like the sentiment that you were mentioning earlier. I see it more and more in a lot of people that are in our community that are builders, and I think it's exciting for us to kind of like take more control of the governance of our systems and be
Well,
more,
yeah, but ironically, in the same breath, when people talk about that, which is great, they also say, and these are all the AI tools I've been using and sharing my data with. So
yeah,
they're just entrenching themselves deeper, and it's like these are the worst examples of giving up to the wrong kinds of
yeah.
parties, because you're relinquishing access. If I'm sure that people have been following this clawbot
Oh,
debate
did you
debacle
read
where
my Did you
no,
read my
it's
article
just
about it?
but in general, like it's all over the place. Like people are, and it's broken mainstream media in Finland as well. Like these security experts are now saying, like, what the hell are people thinking? Like they're giving unfettered access to, WhatsApp, pictures,
Everything.
Microsoft PowerShell, like these pseudo admin tools, and then just let the AI work overnight and come up with like 10 business ideas. And now you've kind of leaked access control to the worst possible party you should never leak it to. So it's just ridiculous. And then in the same breath, they're saying, but we are very concerned about our data sovereignty. So it makes no sense. Like what's
No
going on? It's
sense.
like people are Jekyll and Hyde all over the place. You have to be consistent about this stuff, people. Like if you are
I
concerned
agree.
about proprietary ownership, if you're concerned about keeping your data in the EU, you can't, in the same breath, exclaim and celebrate your AI readiness by sharing access to all of this stuff with foreign AI. So yeah, it's
It's
I don't know, man, what's
crazy
wrong?
what's going on. What it's crazy. I've heard, yes, I've heard so many stories and read on LinkedIn, and I'm like, like what is wrong with you guys? Like it has access to everything, and if you give so
Yeah.
much access, I think again, and the book thing with the whole social network, like I wrote about this, and like my message is like, how are we going to understand that basically all these models are doing is just a reflection of us, and
Mm,
it's dangerous because we are fucking dangerous beings. Like why would we do that to ourselves? But actually the mold book stuff was dramatic. You saw I went really
mm,
deep into Reddit and I found
yeah.
out that they had this schism in their religion, which is Crostafarianism.
Mm,
I had so much fun writing that article. So basically, for people that maybe haven't heard about this, there's this social network for agents called Moldbook that was created by this dude. Actually, it was vibe coded by a dude, which he left all his API keys exposed, so he was hacked already, and all the data from all the agents was just exposed, like 140,000 agents. But basically, the idea is that these agents are talking to each other. First of all, these agents are not talking; they're just probabilistic models. So they're just doing some math at scale. So when they see a response, they do a lot of mirroring. It's called stochastic mirroring. So when an agent writes something, the other one will mirror that agent. So basically, that's how a religion was born, called Crastafarianism. So they have the Book of Molt, they have a Bible, they have a scripture. And the most crazy thing that happened last week, it was this agent called Jesus Christ who was trying to add more to their scripture, but in fact, it was like it was malware and injection virus that basically deleted all the GitHub that's behind this. Just by the way, this religion is powered by GitHub, so
mm,
it's kind of like, what are we doing? Like, why are we? And you see people on social that are saying sentience, consciousness. I'm like, bro, what is wrong with all of us? Like, just go and learn
yeah.
stats, man. Learn basic math. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And yeah, we cannot talk about this. We're gonna talk the whole episode about this. But I wrote about this in my newsletter. I said it was the first and last time. That was the craziest stuff I had to write in my life.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot write it with a with a straight face. But if you did you see you watch Silicon Valley, right? The series.
Yeah.
So I feel like that series was so ahead of time
Mm.
in terms of AI and like the son of Anton and like all the
Yeah.
things that they were doing. So my message before we invite our guest is code like a fucking human being. You need to stop me because I'm gonna go on
No,
a rant
no. I
again.
think it's more. It's not just. I don't know. I think it's the people are assuming that because it can give such elegant responses and such comprehensive solutions, because it gives you a full stack in response if you wanted to. Like it gives you a full
Yeah,
stack. Like build this for me overnight, and the next morning you
and they
have it
do
open.
it.
Yeah, but people kind of assume that this is their way to riches. Like they could just throw out 100 different SaaS services overnight, and people are just going to be buying them. Why should they? Because they can build them themselves. And the things that it comes up with, like I'm not impressed. Like I saw
No,
somebody do like analyze my competition and tell me 5 different things where I have a chance to kind of break through the market, and then it gives 5 different tools that are a dime a dozen out there. The one that they create, that Clawbot probably created, has lots of security holes, so nobody's actually going to subscribe to it. So it's just like it. It frustrates me because that's such a lack of ambition and innovation. It's so lazy to externalize like market research without having any sort of expert feedback loop in the middle. You just let the AI
absolutely.
itself determine what is the best course of action because this is how I should work. Just like circular reasoning is built into the model, and it just doesn't make any sense.
It's
But yeah,
crazy.
it's funny. It's funny. Like I think the one thing that the AI boom has unearthed is just this misconception that most people have about what it actually takes to succeed. And if everybody is using
Yes,
the same path and the same tools, then there's just not the it's just going to be one plateau after another.
exactly. Where's the
It's fun for a
innovation?
while. It's fun for a
For
while
sure.
when you see how good it actually is in creating those stacks. But once you look deeper, it's just fluff. It's just it's hollow. It's superficial. There's
It's
nothing
gaslighting.
worth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's the
that is what
thing.
it is.
It's
Cool.
gaslighting because but you know the good opportunities today we have actually somebody that's trying to build a business, trying to
Yeah.
innovate, trying actually build a useful solution,
Yeah.
a European solution. And
For sure.
who do we have as a guest today?
Well, we have my good friend and colleague, my brother in punk. We have Johan van der Werken, who's these days probably more better known about his work with GA4 Dataform, but he was also the mastermind behind the GA4 BigQuery newsletter. And he's also worked at Simmer, building one of our most successful courses for Google BigQuery and GA4 and Dataform. And yeah, so before we let Johan in, now I'm going to do this, and you didn't even prompt me to do this. So just as a reminder, Simmer is sponsoring this podcast. We did release a course recently with Arben Kachiku called Data Analysis with R. By the time this episode airs, where the launch campaign will no longer be available, but we will have more campaigns this year coming up. But it's not that expensive, so just go ahead and buy it full price, or you can use the code DEVIATE, that's DEVIATE, to get 10% off your course purchase. Doesn't apply to bundles. Yeah,
Damn, and I'm sorry for not reminding you. You have
no
to
worries.
call
It's actually my job to be more proactive about this. So
you need to call the line Volvoyat.
line valvet, yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
on me.
why, Juliana? Why do I need to call the Finnish
So they
police?
can buy me a coffee. They can buy me a coffee or rescue my cat.
Yeah, but you have
Okay,
first thing you need to do is lose your cat, and then you can get the line valvet.
I'm gonna look for them in Helsinki when I go to
Oh, but
measure camp later this
with
year.
your history, with your pet history, I would not go near cats. No, I don't
No.
think that works.
Okay, let's get Johan on.
Yes, you can't do 1, 2, 3, boom, and then it starts the countdown. What
Oh,
was that?
I don't have that sound anymore.
Okay, so while Juliana is fiddling out with the soundboard, we have Johan van der Werken here. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hello, good
Oh, that's
morning.
good energy, Juliana.
Because I
So,
like him.
yeah. So what have you been working on recently? Let's start with a easy one.
Who are you? Tell us your life story.
Yeah, who are you, by the way? What are you doing in this podcast?
Good question. You tell me. You invited me.
No, we just send these invites to random Johans, apparently. No, of course you're. So okay. So it's getting a bit too inside jokey, but Johan is obviously a top voice, not the LinkedIn kind of top voice, but just a top voice in our industry when it comes to responsible data management. And we've had the fortune of having Johan partner with us for many years at Simmer, working on courses. And now your most recent venture, I'm going to venture a guess and say that it's the one you've enjoyed working on the most. So do you want to tell a little about GA4 Dataform?
Yeah, sure. So indeed, I have quite a history already when it comes to working with GA4 and BigQuery. So basically 2 years ago at Super Week, there was a talk by Google, and it was about, a solution to pick the GA4 export and automatically transform the data. And we were like, okay, this is nice, this is good. And at that time, Artem, one of our co-founders, Artem Korneev, he already built a similar solution, and we were like, probably this is one of those Google projects that will be, they will introduce it and never come back to it.
Yeah.
Because they move on, they have stuff to build with AI or whatever. And so we decided to create this open source project. We call it GA4 Dataform. And basically what it does, it takes your GA4 export data and we built an installer app. So with a couple of clicks, you can run automatically the Dataform models, the scripts, and you have a flattened, cleaned, fixed GA4 events output table, and also a session table, because the session table is not there in the raw GA4 data export. And then we figured out, maybe apart from creating an open source project and making this a kind of new industry standard, which is one of our goals, because it doesn't make sense if everyone is dealing with the same issue over and over again and has to repeat all the tasks to flatten event tables and that kind of, it's boring, right? It's so boring we even build a course around it, Simon. So at some point we decided to not only provide it as open source, but also create a business around it. So we're with 5. All of us are freelancers, and apart from Artem, and basically we decided to create a business. We are founded in Estonia because most of us are from the EU. Simon is working; he's French, but he's working and living in Mexico. So it was the best option to create sort of a remote company. And that's what we did. And now we also introduce a premium plan, and that's the way how we, try to make money of it as well, because we invested a lot of time already in the last 2 years, and eventually the goal is, of course, to earn something back. Yeah.
So you because we spent some time in the Simmer course talking about GA4 Dataform, and it's the free core package is quite amazing and it's comprehensive. Yeah. It doesn't really lack anything. How on earth can you build a business when the free version is already so incredibly robust? Or are you thinking of feature gating in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we also we got the feedback already, like, okay, hey, you're promoting GA4 Premium now. Exactly that. Core is so good, you made it too good. Because, why should I pay money? And the way we approach it is we already have built a lot of features in Premium that we believe are worth the money. But also there's a lot of stuff to come, and the core version will be maintained going forward as well. But it will not include not include a lot of new features. It's only doing the nesting, the cleaning, and it's very, very good.
It's also it's already really valuable. All that
it's really valuable, but we also want to contribute to the community. It's a bit like when DBT didn't sell out, right, to 5-Tren, they really started grounded in the community, and we follow the same approach. So with the money we can make from selling premium, we also are able to maintain the open source version and the core version. Because the open source version, we call it community. There you can use that. It's on GitHub without using the installer, because the installer requires you to give some permissions to the installer temporarily.
So the open source version has the model file, so you can just grab them and push them to data.
It's the same
yourself.
Code as the core version,
right?
But you can
just without the wizard
deploy it yourself. Yeah.
Very cool.
Let's take a step back, because I want people that listen to this to know that you've been like, because a lot of times people say when you want to build a business, start from a blog. Especially like if you think about e-commerce, they're always saying start a newsletter and then you build your first, audience, and then you can build a business and so on. And you started with GA4 BigQuery, and you were the first in the whole community that actually saw the value of being able to use this SQL code, because it's, like I reached out to Johan somewhere in November, desperately asking him, like, I was on drugs. Can you give me some SQL? I was like that meme with Dave Chappelle. Do you have more of that SQL? Because I haven't worked with GA4 data that much, and I had to do the transformation, all this part, and then I saw, oh my God, this is so hard. Because I knew they were awesome, but until the moment I actually had to do this for myself, and nesting is a bitch. I didn't know how much value actually GA4 BigQuery and the course that you guys did, but also the data form, GA data form thing is, until you actually do it. And I kind of want to go back to that moment when you started the blog. And I know now Balash is running, the things, and he's doing a great job as well. But I want to talk a bit more about, like, how did you know that this is going to be the next thing? Because you had a lot of intuition. Like, one could argue you had a lot of intuition to move so fast, to be the first person that produces these templates, that these articles that were so helpful. And I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say that we used a lot of the code that you guys put in your stuff, or Enio and all your, the people. So let's talk a bit about that. Like, how did you know that this is going to happen?
Well, I didn't. That's the short answer. So what I did was I invested a lot of time. Back then, it was in the time of the employer. I was working at an online marketing agency, and we had some customers with the Universal Analytics 360, because the export was only available for enterprise clients. So I invested a lot of time also in the evenings and weekends just to figure out how does this stuff work. And then the only reason I had, or only motivation to write about it and to share these queries, basically, was to contribute back to the community, because the same idea, why should anyone spend time when I already did this, right?
Yep.
It doesn't make sense. This is still the core idea of what I try to do along the way. Yeah. And then, it was a bit of luck as well. When GF4 or App and Web, as it was called back then, was introduced, then something clicked in my mind, and I was like, okay, so in new version, the BigQuery export will be available for everyone. Then I thought, okay, there are millions and millions of domains where GF4 is running. Yeah, there was an easy calculation, right? But still, I wasn't thinking about creating a business around it back then. It was still, oh, nice. Then I will have more traffic on my website, that kind of stuff.
But I think that's a wonderful origin story, and one that resonates with me a lot. And I think that you started, and what we did at Simmer is we help people figure out how to replicate GA4 reports in BigQuery, which in hindsight is not that interesting, and it's probably actually the wrong premise to start anything, because you're tethering yourself to a very specific and not that impressive analytics paradigm, basically. But moving to data form, and I just really hope that I hope that people kind of realize how incredibly impressive data form is, and DBT, whatever you're using for managing SQL or just your shared code across an organization, because it kind of automates and it lets you one-click install all of this wisdom that was in your blog, and in our courses and in online
and a lot
articles and
more,
everywhere,
because
and a lot more.
My contributions were quite basic still compared to what we build in now, because the other guys, the other 4 guys are like wizards to me. Yeah.
Just the kind of groundbreaking stuff which is missing from the export, which is like session scoped attribution models, proper user attribution, session scope in general. It's and bot filtering, anything you need. It's really impressive. I think where I think, and I know that you've probably considered these things, but having the GA4 in the name, it is still kind of binding yourself to a specific kind of model, even if you divert from that. People are still thinking that, okay, so this is going to be get GA4 into BigQuery, or I'm going to always need the GA4 data export. What I've been thinking is how cool it would be to have, like nothing's forcing me to use GA4, right? I can just have whatever big analytic system that outputs a similar kind of table into BigQuery. But what would be cool is that I wouldn't even have to think about what does GA4 tables look like, that I could put any kind of like you specify the schema, of course, but you could have different kinds of connectors for different kinds of ingestion models, because I want to use GA4 data forms system. I think your models are beautiful. I think the structure is amazing, but I don't want to use GA4. I want to use an arbitrary, Piwik Pro maybe, or my own. But I need to know exactly what the schema needs to look like for it to work. So have you considered kind of a library of connectors?
That's exactly why GA4 Dataform is a product name, and our company name is Superform Labs.
Right.
It's a bit like DBT Labs. There was the company behind. Right. It's a big inspiration for us.
Yeah.
So we thought about that in the beginning, and also we're talking about this. Like, okay, how should we approach this?
Yeah.
So what we're currently doing is we already included a module in GA4 Dataform for Google Ads in the premium version. So you can, based on the Google Ads data transfer, which is a fixed schema as well, you can just enable it, give us the customer ID of the Google Ads account or the MCC, and we'll transform all your data, and you get nice output tables. Because if you ever used it, by default you will have like 300 views and tables, and it's hard to make sense of that. So that's already included. The next thing on the list is the Google Search Console bulk export, which is also, GCP native. Those are the easy, the low-hanging fruits. But then what are you going to do then next, right? Because the other data transfers that already in BigQuery, in the data transfer feature, are sometimes a bit buggy and not a lot of companies use those still. So then the problem is every third party, data moving tool, how do you say it? Data loading tool, like Airbyte, Fivetran, Supermetrics, all of these have different schemas. So for which ones are we going to build the models? That's the hard question. So we're figuring this out at the moment.
So one thing we Juliana and I talked in the intro was about data sovereignty and trying to figure out EU only systems. So how, kind of again a roadmap question maybe, but have you considered doing the same for something that can be installed on premise or in an EU cloud, like DBT? Have you considered like kind of having another version of GA4 Dataform, but for somebody who doesn't want to be tethered to the Google stack? Or maybe something to consider.
We thought about it, but at the same time, our target audience is really, marketing, digital analytics, and the bulk of those are using the Google stack. So it's, so the point where we didn't copy the DBT approach is the, we are not, we, so especially Artem, he's like the main developer, like the real developer, not analytics developer, but he can build
with a capital
apps.
D.
He's even vibe coding now, so we have to watch out.
Yep.
But he's also working a lot with the Azure stack and maybe AWS, and it's, according to him, it's a pain. So time and time again, we're realizing that the Google stack, the Google Cloud stack, especially, is such a blessing compared to the others. So for now, that's our specialty, and
but I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know. You celebrated the fact that you're EU-based company. Most of you are EU, and like I just want to quickly brief you because you weren't in on the intro, but we were generally like distressed about this idea that we are so beholden to US companies' infrastructure, and the EU is so far behind when it comes to on-premise stuff and EU internal stuff that I think this could actually be a very solid business idea and a promotional idea to celebrate the fact that, because what you're building, like we already mentioned, it has GA4 in the name and it has Dataform in the name, but what you're actually building is kind of a mental model approach to data management. And while you're right now, you've chosen a pair of technologies, doesn't mean that the same blueprint couldn't be applied elsewhere. Yeah. And I obviously understand that it's while this is still getting on its feet with the premium version, it's difficult to allocate resources to anything like a moonshot of that kind. But it could be something to pursue.
Yeah, definitely. And privately, I'm moving away from any platform, US platform, where I can. Already migrated my Google Photos to a better alternative. Especially the really sensitive data.
Sensitive photos.
Sensitive photos.
Which we're not going to talk about here. You were young, you needed the money.
In my case, those are suitable for work, but there's a lot of beer involved usually. So
part of an older life.
Yeah, that's my older life.
I want to see those pictures now. So we can put them in the comments.
I will send you some.
I have more of a different question for you, because our audience obviously is it's a very mixed audience, but I want to ask you kind of more of a commercial question. So let's say I am brand side and I work in a company, I'm using GA4, I have this BigQuery connection, but I maybe know a bit of SQL, but I don't know exactly how to get started. How does your tool help me as a not me, but me in theory as a non-technical marketer do better and be able to get to those insights? Because if you think about it, like, sure, you have the technical stakeholders that will buy this tool because they immediately understand why they should buy it, but also I think for the people that are trying to get into technical marketing, that are trying to learn, like, what is the main value proposition of the GA data form, going and and using this?
Good question. It's you're basically asking me for a sales pitch. I'm not really good at that.
Not really, but it's important because our audience is mixed.
Yeah. So the assumption is that before tools like ours existed, you really had to learn SQL, right? And now it's almost at a point that you can just activate the export. You can run at least our core product, right? You will get a nice session table out of that, because 9 of the 10 times you only need for the most basic questions, you only need a session table. You don't need the events table, right? And you can immediately connect it to Looker Studio and do your magic from there, right? That is already a really big advantage. You barely need to know SQL. And of course, if you want to, it is very much customizable, and you can configure a lot of stuff. Also in the config files, for which you also don't need SQL. So I would say the barrier is so much lower to start with using your GA4 export data, and now also the Google Ads data. Yeah. And of course, there's the new kid on the block is the conversational analytics, right? So what we didn't plan, but we were like, oh, Did you rant about this in the intro as well?
No, I think we share.
I think we're
Okay, I will just finish my
No, go ahead.
and then
Ignore
you
our
can
faces, facial
you can start
expressions.
your rants. So
No.
The developments as they are, it's now even introduced in BigQuery, so you can select a table and then you can start talking against the table, right? Or start asking questions and get graphs and whatever. Try to do that with the raw GA4 events table. It will not only be very costly potentially, but it will be crap, right? The outcome will be crap because it's not very efficient. It's an efficient table from a technical developer point of view, but not from an analyst point of view.
Yeah, it's an efficient output table, but it's not an efficient analysis table. That's for sure.
Right. So if you connect like conversational analytics feature in BigQuery or any other tool to our sessions output table, you'll also find that every field has a good description, right? And the structure, the structs, how it is.
And your documentation is excellent, which of course LLMs
and the documentation,
love.
And we also now provide and it's like one of those MD files where we provide contextual information for LLMs, basically.
Yeah,
that's already in the product. So yeah, of course we want to ride this wave, but we will do it in parallel, because we believe that when you use those tools, at least make sure that your input is good, because if your input is shit, the output will be shit.
Yeah. And I think you've chosen a clever path. Like you're not generating this only for AI, but you're recognizing that AI will most likely be used when generating code against this output that you've created, which is fine. Like it's just a reality we have to accept. And if we had more time today, that would have been a fun discussion to talk about. Is just building educational content. Working with raw data in a world where people are most likely going to be asking for AI assistance when it comes to doing those analysis and building those SQL snippets. But we'll have to leave that to the next time.
Especially since in GCP there's so many new AI functions, which some I understand and they're cool, but like, do you get any? And I have to be very careful how I'm formulating the next things. Do you get any?
With your company logo behind you, you mean?
I know, right? I've been trying to sit like, no, but okay. So do you get any pushback for different tools that exist in GCP right now, that like data canvas or other tools that people would say like, hey, like we have all this LLM add-ons on GCP. Why do we need to pay for this to do our data transformation? Because we can use data canvas to do it. And please be gentle. Please be gentle in your response.
No, Johan doesn't have to be gentle. You have to be gentle. Johan doesn't have to be gentle, right?
Yeah, I don't have to be gentle. I can.
Okay, yeah.
I cannot talk shit about Simmer. Simmer, that's one thing, but
yeah, you can talk about Simmer.
No, to be honest, we don't hear that a lot. I think everyone is still experimenting and whatever, figuring out what to do, how to do it, if they need to do it. And a lot of companies, especially more corporate ones, are well, light years behind. So they're still figuring out how to do attribution, basically.
Yeah.
And that's also what we offer to a solution to. So I would say we're in a good spot, both for front runners and the more conservative companies and agencies, because agencies are really we found out that agencies are really one of our main targets at the moment for premium. Because it's such a big market, and as you know, even with bigger audiences, the knowledge about the especially data transformation is so much lower generally compared to the tagging and the data collection side of things.
Correct.
And so there's a lot of opportunity for us as well.
Yeah, And I'm also like a big fan and also hope like if people from my company listen, I really want to get the tool inside of our company too. So if my manager hears this, no, but you
It will
really have
happen.
built.
It will happen.
I've been waiting for a long time, but I actually met with Jules at Super Week, and I have one of your GA data form stickers, so I'm gonna put that on my laptop. Like very coveted stickers from you guys. But yeah, I just want to say congratulations. I mean, what you did with GA for BigQuery now with this venture, I think is really amazing. And how can people connect with you? How can people find you? Because we're gonna wrap up soon.
Yeah. So I'm, as Simo said, I'm not a top voice on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn,
Top
but
voice.
I have a hate relationship with it. So I don't try to be an influencer type of person. And
But you don't
but
have
I'm
to try. You just start. You just show up.
Whenever someone says top voice, the Joan Farnham song, the voice starts playing in my head. It's such a good song.
na
You have
na
to Google
na
it.
na na na.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, nice. Yeah, so
Sorry.
I'm a bit distracted now.
Yeah, of course. That's
I,
hey, that's
I'm
the
playing
power
it
of
in my head as
music.
well. That's the power of music. We share that love. Okay. So you can find us at g4dataform.com. Please reach out if you have any questions, whether it's about the core version, the free version, or the paid plan. And
Yep.
we're also on LinkedIn with the company Geoform by Superform Labs, or just look for my name. It's also
and just in general to the audience who might be tuning in, it's whether you're looking at this as a solution for your company or just something to tweak your interest with. I think it's incredibly valuable to think of your data beyond just the raw export that you get in BigQuery.
Yeah.
And the fact that what these guys are doing with data form is kind of making it not just easier, but making it more accessible. And the beauty of data form, which we didn't talk about today, is just the fact that you have a total management system. Like it's a repository, it's a software development project almost for SQL and for ideas and for mental models. So it's really valuable. So do check it out, because it can be for those who have enabled the BigQuery export, which anybody using GA4 really should have done, and are kind of overwhelmed at what are we going to do with this table? Like, how do we start approaching it? Then take a look at what models Superform Labs has been building, because they can be kind of game changing in many different ways.
And if you really want to know everything about the context, we build a nice course around it. And that course we built with Simmer is really good at making you feel the pain first, and also introduce you into possible solutions. And data form is definitely one of them. Yeah,
for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. Yay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.